Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy over here is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we have another live caller. This is proving to be something you guys are showing a lot of interest in. So if you want to be on the show and you want to see more of this, there's a Google form right down there in the description box. Fill it out. See if our schedules align. We would love to talk to you and have a great conversation around where you guys think are going on in the gun world, and we'd love to have that conversation. So it's right down there, and if you like this content, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn the notification bell on. We need as much help as we can to help the channel grow and pass the Second Amendment along to the next generation. And in the spirit of the call we have Alec on the line. Alec, thank you so much for calling in. What you got for us?
Hi. Well, it's great to be on the show. I've been watching probably ever since late high school, and that actually kind of merges into my topic of defending the Second Amendment from, an educational standpoint. I know that a lot of educators out there generally don't like the Second Amendment, and they generally try to twist it. I went through that experience in high school, and I tried to educate people in my grades and people below my grades. And I think my experience can kind of have a unique point of view on the modern Second Amendment debate.
All right. So just out of curiosity, before you actually ask the full aspect of the question, how old are you?
I just turned 21.
Oh, snap. Okay, so this is that new, this is that fresh, this is that next generation we're always talking about, Tim. This is what I'm talking about.
This is interesting.
All right. Oh, I'm amped. So, Alec, all right, so if we're going to boil it down, that's the topic in the area of the conversation. What's the actual question? Like, what do you kind of want to broach around the twisting of the Second Amendment? Like, what specifically?
Well, my question is, how can we reach people who are maybe a little younger than me? I've obviously made up my mind. I'm quite the collector. I moved out to Montana to do that. But, I come from California, which is not the most Second Amendment friendly. So I think my question would be, how can we educate people who are going through that critical formation period on, rights versus fear?
That is solid. And first of all, just thank you for asking that. Like, you're such a unique case. That's really cool. Like being as young as you are, going from gun control California into Montana freedom, chasing that. Oh man, that's awesome. Tim, you want to hit that first, and I'll kind of follow up.
Yeah. So, when I went through high school, we still had a shooting range in the basement of our high school. It had just been closed, but not because of a policy shift or a dislike for the Second Amendment. It was because it became a lead hazard, and our understanding of indoor ranges evolved over the years, so they shut it down, never reopened it. But you'll find in rural communities, there's still very much a gun culture. So, people today have a rather shocked look on their face when I say, when I went to school, we would actually park in the senior parking lot, which was on school property, and we'd have shotguns in the back of the glass of our pickup trucks, which was common because we would go hunting after school and nobody cared. Now, you try to do that today, obviously, attitudes have changed towards students with guns in general, right? So I think there's several organizations out there, and I tried to look one up here really quick, that are actively working to try to get the shooting sports back into high school curriculums. And I think this is a great way for us to reintroduce our culture back into our schools, because we are seeing this paradigm shift where educators across the nation, it kind of started in the big cities, now it's trickling out to more rural areas, where they're indoctrinating our children into believing that our Second Amendment rights are either fictitious, they don't really protect an individual right, they have the collectivist argument you see David Hogg talking about most recently. But of course, the Supreme Court shot all that down. That was done decades ago. But they still cling to those arguments. And so they're pushing our culture and our heritage and gun safety out of schools. Now think about this. This is something I've argued for some time. They'll have sex education in high school. They'll teach students how to properly prepare themselves for, relationships going forward. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is it's awfully ironic that we will take the time to teach students how to protect themselves in that situation, but we have more guns in this country than we have people, yet we won't teach basic firearm safety as part of a school curriculum, which to me is just mind-boggling, especially when all the aunties are out there screaming, but it's for the children. Well, you know how you teach children not to hurt themselves and other people? It's called education, and you're denying us that, along with secured schools and everything else. So I think probably our best tact here is to get behind organizations, fund those organizations that are actively trying to get kids back into the shooting sports. Now, around here, we have an organization that teaches trap shooting and skeet shooting. And so they'll get the students out and shooting shotguns at clay pigeons and things like that. And that's a great way to, start the conversation, because for whatever reason, shotguns, and you'll see this with David Hogg's most recent post where he's shooting a shotgun and then trying to defend himself from it. But shotguns aren't viewed in the same light as, say, .22 rifles, AR-15s, things like that. So through the use of a hunting shotgun, we can get our foot back in the door. And once that's accepted, then we can go to .22 rifles, and then we can move it up from there. So again, we have to practice that same incrementalism that's been used and leveraged against us throughout this entire gun grab that we've been experiencing for the last 100 years or so.
Yeah. I mean, and I just kind of want to jump on that because this is such a good topic. I think something that you said there, Tim, is incredibly important. Like, speaking to the people who are watching this video, I mean, it's all about that education, because education takes away fear. That's what education does. No matter what you're afraid of, if you learn more about it, you're going to have a higher level of comfort because you know what's going on, whether it be your Second Amendment rights to firearms, whether it's driving, whether it's sex education, whether it's cooking, whatever you're afraid of, it's going to demystify it to the point where it's a normalcy. And that is what they've been chasing for so long, is to mystify it, make it something big and bad and scary that is taboo to go near. And I think that kind of goes to a little more of the outreach and conversation. And this is, Alec, it's cool because we have Tim and I kind of went immediately different directions, but in the same overall commonality. To me, it's demystifying it through conversations with people. But the biggest thing is you have to maintain a cool head. And you seem to be a very level-headed individual. But when a person on any side would lose their temper and say it's because these are our rights and you're not touching them, yes, that's an absolutely valid argument. But you have to have some substance behind that. For example, tying the rights that we have to the sacrifices and all the pain that people have sacrificed going forward. So we have these rights that they were passed on to us, so we'll pass on to the next generation. Going down from a standpoint of the SCOTUS decisions, and it goes back to that education. Here's what the SCOTUS has said. All the talking points that you could say day in, day out from the left, it doesn't matter your talking points, because here's the rule of law. But now let's talk about the actual practical application. Gun control does not work in every single application it's ever been applied to. You can't ban AR-15s because they're considered common use. What's common use? It's all about the perception. This is an incredibly important piece, because if we can start to demystify from a younger age of this is a responsibility, this is a right, this is not a curse, as the governor of California would say, I think that's the approach that we have to hit on. It's because we are going to win in the end. The law and the Constitution are on our side, but it's not just about law and Constitution. It's also about perception, public perception, and bringing those along with us. And I think personally, it's being able to have a calm conversation with someone that's not being calm about it. I mean, what do you think of those perspectives, Alec?
Yeah. Anytime you lose your cool in a argument, so to say, mm-hmm. generally immediately makes your argument invalid in the eyes of your opponent. Yes. You'll see that with internet discourse all the time. Someone starts losing their mind and, using all caps and a bunch of exclamation marks, and then you just kind of look like a fool. But what was interesting for me is that my English teacher, we had debate classes, and my debate topic was Second Amendment. And since I was able to come up with actual statistics and facts, and I had a good team with me, my friends, we all defended it, we won the debate, even though my teacher is a vehement anti-gunner.
That's outstanding.
That's incredible. But that speaks to that point. If you have the education and the knowledge on your side, it's an irrefutable point. You cannot refute all the history, all the rulings, all the rights, and everything that we have on our side. It's being able to articulate. I think that's how you bring more people to the side.
Yeah.
Because you win debates even with people who disagree with you.
One thing that I really want to drive the point home on is that, each and every one of us as a gun owner is we're defending our rights, right? We are a political ambassador. We have to make sure that when we go out and engage people in conversation that, sure, it'd be nice just to give them the middle finger and say, screw you, my rights are absolute. But we have to remember that we are trying to sway people to our way of believing things. It would be nice if they just automatically understood the truth and understood freedom, but many people don't. And they have to be led down the path to understanding. And you can't do that if you immediately throw up a wall and start becoming hostile. Even if they're being hostile to you, when you engage in public discourse, you have to present the fact that gun owners are very rational, logical people, and we're not swayed by emotion like they are. Just recently on Twitter, I posted an example of an anti-gunner who posted a picture of himself shirtless and said that he's ready, and I'm paraphrasing, you go to my Twitter account, Mac_arms, and you can see what he posted about, being ready to go to war and take these guns away from people. These are the pacifists, or so they try to tell us they are.
Right.
They want peace, they want to save the children, but they want to commit acts of violence in the process. They're not rational. They're not logical. They don't even have facts on their side. All they have is raw emotion, and it drives them. So you counter that by being calm. I learned that dealing with parents when I was a younger kid. When my mom would get wildly angry at me, I would just stare at her, show no emotion, and just go, okay. And that would infuriate her even more because she couldn't get a rise out of me. So you have to use the same tactics against the anti-gunners that are screaming and spitting in your face. You just kill them with kindness, present the facts, and don't let them see you get agitated by their behavior, because it drives them even more crazy. And they're pretty crazy to start off with.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Alec, I'll be honest with you, man. You and I both just learned something about Tim that neither one of us knew. So that was that was deep, man. Hey, Tim, I appreciate you diving into the history there. A little vulnerability goes a long way.
I'm not vulnerable. I always won.
Oh my God.
I pulled the Gandhi and walked away victorious, and with my life.
Okay. Well, with that, Alec, thank you so much for the call. Tim, it was always a pleasure to do these live calls. Again, if you guys want to see and be on the show, there's a Google form right down there in the description box. We would love to have you on there. And thank you so much to Alec, and thank you so much, Tim, for being on here with me. And we will see you guys on the next one.